You're watching Pedestal by Ashley Sargeant Hagan. Chapter 11. Edwin and his assistant Jen sat across the table from each other in his dining room that doubled as an office. "Okay, so tell me all about her," Jen demanded, her freckled nose wrinkling as she grinned girlishly at him. "Don't we have a lot of work to do today?" he stalled. "I thought we had to plan for that interview for Everyman magazine." She pretended not to hear. "According to the internet, you've gone to dinner with her at the Bella Luna, and a mad fan almost killed her in Kensington Gardens. Were you scared, Ed?" "Me heart was in me crossways," he said with a perfect Irish accent. She made a face at him. Edwin loved to tease his Irish assistant. She was the daughter of a friend of his parents, and Edwin had known her since she was a girl. It irritated him slightly that she had married before him. "Oh, I meant to ask you," she said, suddenly changing the subject. "Were you there when they had that bomb scare? I wonder if the two things are related." "What two things?" "The bomb and the loony fan. I mean, two weird things on the same day in the same location." "It wasn't the same location. They were blocks away," Edwin reminded her. "Well, close, anyway. Do you think the loony fan sent a bomb to that oil guy?" Something in what she said made Edwin uneasy. "What oil guy are you referring to?" he asked, but he knew the answer before she spoke it. "Mr. Tastin, Tartar, something like that. The one who was in the news." "Mr. Tastan?" "I guess. The one who was almost killed in front of you." "It was Mr. Tastan who was almost bombed in Kensington?" Edwin asked, his voice strained. "I can't seem to get away from this guy." "Yes, where have you been? It's all over the news. Anyway, what if your loony fan planted a bomb hoping you would walk by and be blown up by it?" "You are far too gleeful for my comfort," he commented. "And anyway, my loony fan wasn't after my death. She was after Adriana's." "So what's she like? You like her, obviously." "I like her. My parents like her. What's there not to like?" he asked gloomily. "She's met your parents?" cried Jen. "I didn't realize how serious this was already." Edwin rolled his eyes. "Back to business or you're fired," he teased. Jen obeyed, pulling up his calendar on her iPad. "Gerald didn't meet my parents until we'd been dating 6 months," she murmured without looking up. "She's just a friend," he explained, not very convincingly. She eyed him with narrowed green cat-like eyes. "Just a friend," she repeated. "Just a going out to dinner friend, meeting your parents friend, saving your life friend, freaking David out with all the mystery woman publicity, that kind of friend." "Yeah," he agreed, "I know. I guess you know what you're doing." Jen went back to her calendar. "Of course I know what I'm doing, don't I?" Edwin's mind began to wander as she started reading off his schedule for the next week. The bomb attempt was for Mr. Tastan. Another terrorist act against him. Someone really wants him dead. The next morning was his Everyman magazine interview. David had made it clear to the interviewer that there would be no mention of Mr. Sterling's personal life. Strictly business. Edwin was looking forward to it. He usually excelled in interviews, probably because I like to talk. Everything had gone well until the interviewer asked him an unexpected question. "Life's been a bit exciting for you lately," the interviewer had said. "You were there at the British Museum when Ahmet Tastan was nearly assassinated, and then you were in Kensington being attacked by a loony fan at the same time that Mr. Tastan had a bomb threat in his flat." "Yes," Edwin had agreed, trying to downplay it. "Pretty scary stuff." "Don't ask about Adriana." "So do you think someone is after you?" "What?" "Do you think that those assassination attempts were really meant for you? I mean, it's odd that you were in the same places at the same time." "I wasn't really, no, I don't think it had thrown him." His usual cool demeanor was gone. "You're going to have to scratch that," he had said to the interviewer. "No questions about my personal life." "It's public information. It's on the news," the interviewer insisted. "Remove it." Later in the day, he had a voicemail from David. "Hey man, great interview with Everyman. By the way, they did agree to take out that part about your life being in danger. No personal questions. I don't know what got into that reporter. But it's interviews like this that really keep you in the public eye, keep people talking about you, wanting to know what you have to say. And don't let Deborah finagle you into doing some stupid alien film or something. Got to keep the focus on your serious acting skills. I'm in your corner, Ed. You can count on me. He also had an email from Deborah. I know David got you those interviews for the magazines. I hope it went well today. But I need you to keep in mind that it's your work that keeps you fresh in people's minds. If David's not careful, he'll have you doing nothing but interviews, and all my hard work getting you leading roles will be for nothing because you won't have time to do them. Have you looked at the script I sent you? It's a Warner Brothers film. They aren't going to wait forever for an answer. Toodles. Edwin sighed. David and Deborah had a constant love-hate relationship. In public, they smiled and only gave the occasional jab at each other, but behind each other's backs, they waged a war for Edwin's attention and loyalty. Each one wanted to be the more trusted, the more relied on, the more wanted, and both assumed Edwin was oblivious to the power play. It only added stress to his already stressful life. Don't they know I need them both? Especially now. The interviewer had really thrown him. Edwin had never even considered that someone was after him. He found it ridiculous, almost narcissistic, to think that anyone would attempt to kill him. But he had to admit, these were strange coincidences. Bombs, covert assassins, fans with knives. He did seem to be attracting danger lately. His thoughts turned to Adriana, and he found himself desperately wanting to see her. It was about an hour before closing time when he arrived at the museum. He hoped she would be there. He had taken a risk and not called ahead. He headed toward the cuneiform exhibit, realizing as he did so that it was a perfectly legitimate excuse for being there. He hadn't had the opportunity of seeing the exhibit since the last time he was there. The museum had been evacuated. As he entered the gallery, he wasn't disappointed. There she stood, admiring a cuneiform tablet with a regal air. He approached her and stood just behind her, gazing up at the tablet. "Isn't it beautiful, Edwin?" asked Adriana. Edwin wondered if she had a sixth sense. She hadn't even turned as he approached. He squinted up at the tablet, brown and unadorned. Beautiful is not how he would have described it. A plaque to the side translated the tablet. It was the tablet considered to be the world's oldest love poem. The poem had been written in the 8th century BC by a Sumerian princess as she was married to the king of Babylon. Edwin read the translation. "Bridegroom, dear to my heart, goodly is your beauty, honey sweet. Lion, dear to my heart, goodly is your beauty, honey sweet." "It reminds me of the Song of Songs in the Bible," he said, struck by the descriptive language. She nodded. "How wonderful to be so unafraid," said Adriana. Edwin wrinkled his brow. "What do you mean?" She sighed. "Unafraid to express yourself, to pour out your feelings. This writer isn't worried about what her lover thinks of her or what the world thinks of them. She just comes right out and says what she feels. It's beautiful in its honesty." Edwin unobtrusively studied her profile. Would she ever feel brave enough to write a love song like that? And if she did, would it be to him? He shook off the dream he was beginning to spin in his mind. Adriana turned. "What brought you here?" she asked, pulling her attention away from the tablet at last. "I was going to call you." Edwin shrugged. "I've had a strange day. Thought I'd come see the exhibit I never got to see." She nodded, accepting his excuse. They walked slowly through the gallery while Adriana pointed out her favorites. Edwin was mesmerized by her knowledge, but mostly by the beauty that lit her face when she spoke. Afterward, they went up the circular staircase in the great court for tea. To Edwin, the great court restaurant always felt like Mount Olympus, with its open-air feel so far above the main floor and so close to the ceiling of glass skylights above. He squinted at the sky. Gray clouds skidded across it, wraith-like and misty. He imagined the clouds that enveloped Mount Olympus would have also been mysterious and gray like these, hiding greatness from those below, and the humble from the great. Tea had just arrived when Edwin noticed the elevator doors open and Bethany enter the restaurant. She hesitated, but came to the table with what Edwin guessed was her attempt at a cordial smile. "I didn't realize you were here, Edwin," she said, looking quizzically at Adriana. "He came to see the cuneiform exhibit," she explained quietly to her friend. "Ah," nodded Bethany, eyeing him like a teacher whose student has just told her the dog ate his homework. Edwin smiled, but his heart wilted under her gaze. "I suppose you came to say goodbye." "Goodbye?" Edwin asked, looking across at Adriana. There were crimson spots in each of her cheeks, and she twisted her napkin in her hands. "That's what I was going to call you about," she said, attempting a smile. "I leave tomorrow." "But I thought we had a few more days," demanded Edwin. "I did too, but some things changed, and apparently I'm needed back at home, so..." Behind her, a group of men entered the dining room from the circular staircase. To Edwin's surprise, he recognized Mr. Tastan and his matching bodyguards. The Turkish gentleman didn't seem to notice them or anyone else in the room. Bethany turned away from the elevators. "The time, Adriana," she reminded her. Adriana's sharp exclamation brought Edwin's attention back to their table. "Oh, Edwin," she said, looking quickly at her watch, "I completely forgot about my meeting with one of the curators. I'm afraid I must be going. Call me later, please." "Yes, of course," said Edwin, still dazed by the news of her departure. He stood as Adriana rose. As he leaned forward to give her a kiss on the cheek, he nearly bumped into Bethany, who seemed to be hovering closer than he realized. "She still doesn't like me." Adriana and Bethany disappeared down the staircase, leaving Edwin alone with his tea. "I must see her again," he thought, "tonight."